Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chasing a Murder. So, today I'm going to get right into it. I've been having trouble with my internet. That makes it very difficult to make these videos. It makes it difficult to open up my apps. It's been very difficult. So, they're coming to fix it today, and I wish they had fixed it a year ago because it's made it very hard on me. So, let's talk about the Lori Vallow updates that's coming out right now. These are to be expected if you know Lori Vallow. You look at her history. She has caused and created chaos in the courtrooms forever. It stems back way back to 2004 at least. Lori Vallow Cox Daybell is accused of murdering her own children and husband and conspiracy to murder these children. And the world is very concerned because we know that Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow, neither one of them have seen rest since this has begun, which is nearly 44 years ago. And finally, 3 years after her arrest, Lori Vallow is approaching trial. Excuse my voice, guys. I'm really struggling with COVID still. Now, let's not forget that her fifth husband, Chad Daybell, his wife she also died. And they are, well, suspected to be part of that as well. And God knows these families have awaited um, justice for a long time. They have been through heck. And right now, Judge Boyce is trying to manage probably one of the most difficult defense teams ever. And a lot of us are having difficulty understanding why he is so feeding the defense. And after I cool down a bit, you got to realize he's dealing with one of the biggest manipulators, and he doesn't want to give her an excuse, not at all, to be able to come back, nip them in the butt, and get out of jail or even get a retrial. So on March 29th of 2023, Lori appeared for the first time in the Ada County courtroom. And we're just around the corner from trial starting. So Monday, April 3rd, guys, Lori's attorneys were fighting to approve people who could attend in the courtroom or the trial and who are victims. You can expect her to find all these little petty things in the near future. And so they have to resort to the Idaho law to figure out if Kay and Larry are true victims in this case. Of course, you and I know the answer to that they are truly one of the number one victims, are the number one victim in this case, along with Brandon Boudreaux. If it weren't for these three people, I don't think police would have caught on or even did anything for years later of what happened to these children, Charles Vallow and Tammy Daybell. Kay and Larry fought with everything that they had in order to get investigators to check in on JJ, to try to keep him safe because they had concerns for his life. And this is based off Charles Vallow, her brother, who had been shot allegedly by Alex Cox and Lori Vallow. Charles was also contacting the police concerned about her mental status, trying to get her mental help, but there was nothing there to help him. Lori's family, of course, her parents, believing what Lori had to say, was helping Lori fight against getting the help she needed. If she had gotten the support of her parents, maybe things would have been different today, but I don't know because she has a long lifetime of causing issues and threatening people. Anyways, here's the thing. Larry and Kay, they're witnesses in this case. They're also victims, and Lori's attorneys are trying to fight this Idaho law where victims can be present in the courtroom, but testifying witnesses cannot. So we're hearing a lot of people chime in on this and saying, well, you know, this doesn't make sense. They're actual grandparents. And then we're hearing that by law, since Charles adopted JJ, that makes her an aunt, which it doesn't. Charles referred to them as grandparents. When his life insurance, he put Kay and Larry beneficiaries of the $1 million policy to take care of JJ and his other kids. So it's more than obvious that these guys are more than an aunt and uncle to JJ Vallow. But like I said, you can expect Lori Vallow to find all these little loopholes, these little things in the law to make life hell for all these people. And she's going to continue to do that. Her attorneys, I don't understand how they can stand there and represent her. Of course, they have to. You're going to see a lot more of these things throughout trial. Lori, instead of having remorse, grief, or missing her children, is continuing to hate the Woodcocks and make their life difficult, just like they did before all of this went down. And I believe that they should have probably had an attorney a long time ago, because they're just going to have to deal with so much with dealing with Lori Vallow. They know that. And prosecutors are going to have to think like Lori Vallow. They're going to have to stay a step ahead. They're going to have to be prepared. If I was the prosecutor on this case, I would know that she's going to try to make everything difficult. When you're dealing with somebody this manipulative, you have to be prepared. You have to think ahead and say, hey, if I was Lori Vallow, what would I do? Now, the problem is this. Since Kay Woodcock is being called to testify, the defense wants to have her excluded from the trial completely, or at least a portion of it. And all the prosecution has come up with so far that I've noticed, I mean, they could have come up with something since I've made this video, is that these guys have been there for JJ since its birth. And there's a lot more out there that you can attach to JJ. The fact that they were referred to as grandparents the entire time, the finances that they were giving credits, obligations, and guardianship over, which is for JJ. And so a lot of people are like, she's still calling the shots. How is she getting away with this? Well, ask Joe Ryan. Imagine what Joe Ryan, you guys are witnessing exactly what Joe Ryan, Lori's third husband, went through, because she doesn't give up. The thing is now she has the world watching her, so she's limited what she can do. Not only that, Alex Cox is no longer here. So she can't send her little assassinator to go take care of problems for her. So here's the thing. They're going to the bloodline. They're saying that Kay is not the biological grandmother. She is the aunt. Do you think this is going to be something they can get away with? Like Stephen Boyce has done the entire time, even though I'm mad at him right now. When he's not sure about something, he takes a minute to reflect, look up the laws, look up histories of past experiences in the court, and try to prevent Lori from being able to get off scot-free, or at least with a lesser penalty, let's say. He has tried his best, I've noticed, to try to prevent her from finding a reason to go back to court and do this all over again. But the death penalty thing really just didn't make sense. And the only thing I can figure is there were some favors going on, because there was some big mess ups. It could have been worse. It could have been dismissed. And like many of you, you think, oh, we're happy the death penalty is off the table, because we think she's going to suffer a lot worse with having life in prison. But guys, I don't think you realize the time we're living in. It used to be people that killed children, they go, the prison, and the other inmates, they didn't like that. But this is a different world. There's tons more people like her. So She's probably going to have a team in there, Team Lori. But I hope that you guys are right. But as you can see, if you look at her demeanor, she doesn't seem to be bothered by any of this. She doesn't care. The only thing I think that she's bothered by is Chad Daybell. The fact that we're hearing that he's not looking at her in the courtroom. She shoots a few glances. We notice that the courts are referring to her as Miss Vallow most of the time. So Lori's got something she's worrying about there. I mean, I think she realizes that Chad is like, oh my God, how did I let this woman destroy my life? Not saying that he's innocent, because he was doing things that were just, he was asking to go down this road. But how did somebody to get him to be an accomplice to the word murder? Because the one thing that meant a lot to him the most, that was his children. Now he's forever, most likely, going to live separate from these future prophets, is what he called them. He won't be able to spend time with his children and grandchildren. And he'll have to think about the fact that he, how Tammy Daybell died for the rest of his life. And we can only hope that he has some kind of regret going on. Lord knows Lori Vallow doesn't have an inch of regret. She never will. And what's interesting is she has admitted something about her children dying, but it's not on her watch. It was on her brother. So her brother is deceased now, and she's throwing him under the bus. You couldn't have destroyed him any worse, and then you're going to continue to do it. A lot of people forget that her family's affected as well. She destroyed her entire family. She's so toxic. So a lot of people are wondering why and would she do this? Well, I have some of those answers coming up with Life Beyond the Grave, if I can get it going. Y'all know I'm really been struggling with this internet service. COVID. My dog has cancer, I just found out. It's just been hard. And I wanted to have them more than I have out at this time uploaded before trial come along, but I failed. I can tell you that I've worked very, very hard on this case simply because I believed there was a chance that these guys may not see justice. I'm still scared. I've said it from the very beginning. There's loopholes. She's going to use them. Be prepared. So what we're hearing is Larry and Kay, they're putting out a statement through their attorney. They finally hired an attorney. Hell yeah. I was very, very happy to hear that because they really needed that attorney from the very beginning. At the beginning of this case, it was so crazy. And as you're researching, you didn't know these people. And so many of these people were crazy. I was kind of wondering, I said, what about Kay and Larry here? I mean, what's going on with these guys? But after some time, you get to learn more. And so you understand the situation. You also learn that some of the people involved with this that are standing as victims were part of the problem. But they're scooping up on that fame and they're enjoying it. I'm not easily fooled by selfish people. That's the one thing that I'm not fooled by. And it's probably one of my biggest pet peeves are greedy people. I don't have no room for that type of person in my life, not even a smidgen. I'm going to say this right now. As we're seeing this trial come along, you have so many families that you're going to hear from more, probably that you haven't. It's going to bring more families out simply because they're not going to allow for it to be publicly viewed, which is completely unfair. Just know if Lori's attorney, if they're going after something, there's a domino behind that and a domino behind that. Lori is the biggest manipulating liar, so much so that her own mother had no idea that her daughter was capable of doing such deeds. Lori has stolen away everything from her parents and her siblings, Kay and Larry Woodcock, Brandon Boudreaux, Chad Daybell. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of disaster. It's even hurt the reputation of the church. I mean, this is some strong chaos power here. So I'm at the part of the video where I'm waiting to hear what Judge Boyce is going to say. Will Larry and Kay be allowed to remain in the courtroom? We certainly hope so. And I think this time Boyce is taking time out because he needs to find a fair option for everyone. He knows he's treading on a shaky bridge right now. We don't know what's going through his head, but maybe after this is all over, he will let us know what it was like, trialing this case. As for the prosecutors, a lot of people feel as if they're just letting down the families because they're just not doing that good of a job. To be honest, it sounds like they've been dealing with probably things that usually go normal. You don't have all these crazy things happening around you. You don't have a case at this level. The area is not that big, so I'm sure these guys are in over their heads. It's so hard not to be mad at them. But I think after that last ruling where the death penalty was taken off the table, they're feeling the heat of the public that, hey, what's going on here? You're messing up. We're not liking this. And so they're going to have to tighten up the reins. Okay, so let me check and see if we've gotten any ruling on K. So no, it hasn't come in. So I'm probably just going to end this here and just do another video later. So what are you guys hoping for? What do you think about what's going on? How do you feel about what Lori's doing? Do you think she's doing this on purpose to give Kay a hard time? I do. I think that's what she does in her life. She likes to ruin people's lives. That's what she does. Do you think the judge should have been able to make that ruling and not have to take this time off to look into it more? Do you agree that possibly Kay Woodcock doesn't have the right to be in the courtroom? Do you think there's going to be more problems, more chaos to come as trial goes along? Any more emergency meetings? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. All I know is I just feel the pain of all these people who have lost parents, children, husbands, brothers, wives, grandparents. It's really sad. Anyways, guys, don't forget to check out these faces. These guys continue to go on missing. Jasmine Robinson, she was pregnant, lived in Archer, Florida, and we are not hearing anything from investigators on this case. And you would think that they would, been able to dig up something, some kind of tip by now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you soon.